Yo, what's going on, guys? It is time for another reaction video, and today I'm going to be reacting to the biggest mansions in America. Let's see how big they go. Curious to see if there's any I've seen already or not.
I've been in and owned a fair amount of mansions in my day. Some are so large they have full-sized bowling alleys in them. Some have massive buildings just dedicated to staff. I've been in mansions with aquariums, but those pale
That's a massive fish for a home aquarium.
in comparison to the largest mansions in America. Today, we're going to take a look at the largest mansions in the United States. We'll talk about how much they cost to build and what exactly they fit in all that space. Number 3. Arden House. Located in a town that was actually named after the original owner of the home, Arden House is a mansion of opulence, harkening back to days where railroad magnates could afford to build palaces that it's hard to even imagine creating now. Back in 1886, Edward Henry Harriman decided to use the fortune he had earned as a railroad executive to build himself and his family the mansion of their dreams. Over the years, that evolved into a 97,188 square foot
97,000 square feet. And there's in some places people that have a family of, parents and maybe 2 kids or something living in like 1,000 square feet, sometimes even less than that. 97,000. I guess, like, if you want to have everything where you live and never go anywhere, that's just do what you want to do with your money, right? But that's crazy. That's crazy. Obviously, he employed lots of people, paid lots of people, so it created a work opportunity. But that's just an insane size. I wonder if this is the biggest one or if they're just going to keep getting bigger from here.
home, full of expensive paintings, artwork, tapestries, and silk. Set on 355 acres, Arden House is set on the grounds of a former farm. The property has dozens of walking trails that meander through forests and meadows. There's also a 125-acre private lake, which allowed the original owners a place to set sail on their boats and savor the warm, sunny days in New York. The original coach house still stands on the property at the edge of the long, winding driveway. Today, there's a large pool and entertainment area with tennis and squash courts, which makes hanging out in the courtyards even more enjoyable. The home itself is astounding and imposing, with intricate stonework on the chateau-esque exterior, which is carried through the interior of the home. The flooring in the halls are composed of ornate brickwork with geometric
So I don't think they've said yet, is it still operating as a residence, as a home, or is it some sort of venue that to host events now or something like that?
patterns carved into the ceiling above. The most impressive room, however, is the music room. The dramatic room was designed to resemble a medieval great hall. Stone carvings adorn the balcony, ceilings, and the crown molding. There's even bighorn sheep carved above the organ. The sitting room harkens back to the grandeur design that was favored at the time it was built, and includes oak woodwork and imported tapestries. Currently, the estate serves as a conference hall for environmental conservation.
There we go, the conference hall. I mean, at least it's being put used for something more than just a family to live there. It makes me wonder when it was being used as a residence, how many family members lived there. Not the staff, but how many actual family members were in a house of that size.
There are 97 guest rooms in the original bedrooms and guest rooms of the house, and massive conference rooms to allow for large groups. Number 2. Oheka Castle. Also located in New York, Oheka Castle is the second largest mansion in the United States, and at nearly twice the size of the White House. Well, that comes as no surprise. The home is built on 443 acres at the highest point on Long Island, allowing for stunning views of the water and landscape below. When just the land was purchased in 19...
Look at the footprint of the pools on the right. It almost looks like those water features or whatever that little space is over there. I don't know if it's swimming pools or if it's just like to look pretty and it's just like fountains. That looks almost as big, if not bigger, than the footprint of the house.
2014 by Otto Kahn. It cost him the equivalent of $158 million today. But the home he built on it would cost much more. Otto aimed to build a home made for hosting large gatherings. He wanted it to be...
There's that water feature. So just simply for visual effect. It's not even for something that you can do anything with. It's just there to look pretty. People with money, man. Not hating. Do what you want with your money. If you earned it, you do what you want with it. It's just interesting to see what ways people spend their money.
Much more. Otto aimed to build a home made for hosting large gatherings. He wanted it to be extravagant, fit for a king, and he certainly accomplished that. The home was so large and opulent that it became the inspiration for F. Scott Fitzgerald's Great Gatsby. Throughout
I was just about to say, when he started saying it became the inspiration, my mind went to Gatsby immediately.
That it became the inspiration for F. Scott Fitzgerald's Great Gatsby. Throughout Otto's ownership, he regularly held 600-person parties that would last through the night and into the morning. Altogether, the home has 127 rooms and spans over 109,000 square feet. Over the years, the house has been restored to remain its original integrity, a costly and extensive process that cost $40 million, making it the most expensive renovation in America. The original slate tiles of the home were replaced with identical slate tiles, which were sourced from the exact same quarry as the originals.
Too bad they couldn't have replaced them with the slate tiles from Elon Musk and still have that same style and character and look, but be more energy efficient.
222 windows and doors were taken out and replaced with exact replicas, which were painstakingly made by carpenters. Otto designed the home with secret corridors and hallways in between the walls, allowing his 126 full-time workers to move seamlessly from room to room without ever having to see or interact with the...
That's the kind of property that has hauntings. I wonder if there's any kind of haunted history behind it.
Workers to move seamlessly from room to room without ever having to see or interact with the guests. Personally, I'd like to use my secret tunnels just to jump out and scare my guests, but to each their own.
Right.
The home is a French chateau style, and that is incredibly evident as soon as you enter. The main entryway has dual staircases with original hand-wrought iron
Beautiful, beautiful architecture throughout.
railings and a chandelier. On the ground floor, you'll find the grand ballroom, which has wraparound windows, several chandeliers, and stunning architectural designs.
It looks like it's stuck in like the late 80s, early 90s decor-wise on this room.
Also on the ground floor, you'll find a terrace room leading out to one of several terraces. There are two large courtyards on either side of the entryway, a billiard room, a lounge, and an impressive library. The library has 2,000 books and 15-foot tall ceilings with fireplaces on each end, creating an opulent reading environment on cold winter nights. The second and third floor are home to several bedrooms, bathrooms, and lounge areas.
Oh, it's a hairdryer? Or what is that? At first I thought it was like an old style rotary phone or something. Maybe it's for the toilet? Maybe it's like a duvet? Not duvet. I don't know what that is. If somebody knows what this thing right here is, tell me. It might be a hairdryer or something. Bidet is what I was thinking. Not duvet, bidet. Not a bidet where you sit down on it, but like the ones that they use, I believe in South America, that are hooked onto like a water line. I don't think that's what it is either. I think it's more likely that it's a hairdryer or something.
As well as balconies and terraces. The home also has an original schoolroom on site to educate Otto's children. But perhaps the most interesting and luxurious part of the home is the original indoor pool.
That's pretty, man. I like the way that the vine is kind of creeping through it, but it doesn't appear that there's any water in it. Let's see if they tell us why.
The most interesting and luxurious part of the home is the original indoor pool. Practically unheard of at the time, the home's pool overlooked the gardens, with ivy and classical artwork surrounding it. In the basement, the current owner has carved out a man cave for himself. Quite literally, the room had to be hand-carved out of the existing cement and now serves as a home theater. Outside,
They say the new owner, so I guess this one's a residence.
carved out of the existing cement and now serves as a home theater. Outside, the English gardens are a thing of wonder. The walking paths surround fountains and rose gardens, which make for a perfect evening stroll. Also on the grounds, you'll find a private golf course. I mean, after all, this is the second largest mansion in America. And now, number 1, the Biltmore Estate, the largest mansion in America.
I've heard of this one before. I don't know all the history and story behind it, but I've definitely heard of the Biltmore.
Number 1, the Biltmore Estate. The largest mansion in America by a large margin is the Biltmore Estate, located in Asheville, North Carolina. The home is an absolute marvel that is currently open to the public for tours, and you might want to block out a full day to explore it all. The home is 178,926 square feet with 250 rooms. Out of those 250 rooms, 35 are bedrooms.
Hold on a second here. Let me process this. One, it's like the size of a hotel. 258 rooms, but only 35 are bedrooms? What are the other 215 rooms? Like, obviously there's going to be some rooms for entertainment. Maybe there's more than one kitchen. Maybe there's some restrooms, if they're considering the restrooms as some of those rooms. But what are all these other rooms? I hope they explain it.
50 rooms. Out of those 250 rooms, 35 are bedrooms, 43 are bathrooms,
43,
and
okay.
3 are kitchens. There's also
That still leaves like 150, 170 more?
65 fireplaces in the home. I'm sure that's cozy. For quite some time, it was just the home of one family, a family with a name you might recognize, the Vanderbilts. George Washington Vanderbilt II wanted to have a little mountain escape built in Asheville, and he did a bit more than that. Construction on the home began in 1889. In order to build a home of such an extreme size, a woodworking factory and
Imagine, nowadays to build things of this size is not quite as difficult, right? You can draw up some good architectural plans. We've got all kinds of machines and tools and things that make it quite easy to do. There's going to be challenges, of course. It's going to be timely. But overall, accomplishing something like this is fairly easy. But to do something like this in 1819, is that what they said? 1889? I just couldn't imagine how difficult it would be to build something like of this scale back then.
in order to build a home of such an extreme size, a woodworking factory and a brick kiln had to be built on site. During peak construction, they produced 32,000 bricks per day. For comparison, to build an
32,000 per day.
They produced 32,000 bricks per day. For comparison, to build an average-sized home out of bricks, you'd only need about 8,000 of them. Railroads were constructed to bring other materials in. 1,000 workers and another 60 stone masons worked full-time on the property for the 3 years it took to construct. And where was George Vanderbilt during all this? Well, traveling the globe, of course. He gallivanted through Europe, collecting items to bring back with him to fill his home. He bought furniture spanning between the 15th and the late 19th century, every piece of which is worth a lot of money now. The home was owned by the Vanderbilts for many years. During the Great Depression, it was open to the public to encourage people to visit Asheville and help stimulate the mountain town's economy. Currently, the home serves as a historic site, offering tours daily. The facade of the chateau-esque style home is covered in gargoyles.
Anybody watching ever visited there? Is it worth going to do the tour? Is it interesting to see, or after you see like a small part of it, just does it become repetitive and there's not a lot to see and do? Is it worth, like, if you were going to be there, to spend a day going there, or not? Let me know in the comments. I'd be curious to know.
Rosettes, floating tracery, and trefoils. The architectural style, not the cookies. Entering the home is a jaw-dropping experience. To the right of the entrance hall, you'll find the octagonal sunken winter gardens. The glass ceiling and beautiful arched doorways create a magical environment. Sculptured wood and a
I like that ceiling. It's pretty. Everything's so symmetrical, and it just looks really nice.
bronze fountain called Boy Stealing Geese only adds to the fairy tale aesthetic of the room. Left of the entrance hall, you'll find the Tapestry Gallery. The 90-foot-long room is lined with 16th century tapestries, the exact ones Vanderbilt brought back from Europe with him. At the end of the Tapestry Hall is the library, spanning 2 stories. The library contains over 10,000 books in 8 different languages. An ornate spiral staircase made of walnut winds around the room, leading up to the upper level. Here, you can get a better look at the Baroque detailing and the intricate ceiling painting. On the first floor, you'll also find the largest room, the banquet hall. The banquet room has a 70-foot-high barrel-vaulted ceiling. At one end of the room, the triple fireplace sits with intricate designs carved into the stone, and
Just all the detail, man. So I guess my answer to my own question is maybe it would be interesting to go see it just because there's so much unique things from one room to another. A triple fireplace. It's like everything had to be like, oh, everybody has one fireplace. Let's have 3 fireplaces. Oh, we're gonna have tapestries. We're dedicate a whole room to tapestries. A 90-foot tapestry room. It I just couldn't imagine having wealth of that level. It seems like these days people who have this kind of wealth, and maybe it's just because it's not as public to us, but they don't spend money the same way, I guess. Instead they go buy monster-sized yachts, or maybe they have nice, moderate-sized homes, but they've got homes in 20, 30 different places. But the idea of somebody from today that's this wealthy starting a home from scratch, of something of this scale, I don't really know that it's being done as much as it used to be. Maybe I'm wrong though. Maybe it's just because we don't have the insight to see these people's lavish living like these because of them being so old.
of the room, the triple fireplace sits with intricate designs carved into the stone, and rare Flemish tapestries flanking it on either side. At the other end is an organ gallery, which includes a 1916 Skinner pipe organ. The table seats up to 60 guests. The cantilevered grand staircase wraps around a 4-story iron chandelier that has 72 light bulbs alone. And if you take a stroll of the 100...
I also wonder on projects like this back then, 1889, how much of this was predetermined in the plans and how much of it kind of came together on the spot, right? Like from day one, did they already know they were going to have this intricate stairwell? Did they know they were going to have the triple fireplace, or did it, know that there was going to be a fireplace in there, but then they decided later on, let's make it a triple fireplace. And then if he was traveling for 3 years and collecting stuff from all over the world, was he just collecting the items and sending them back immediately, and then they would find a way to incorporate it into the property? Or was the property finished and then furnished with the goods? I don't know. I just think that would be an interesting thing. I've always said that, like, if I won the lotto and hit it really big, I would get a decent sized home and I would go travel for like a year or two. And that was exactly what I would do is I would, find unique things from all over the world, send them all back to, like, for instance, like a warehouse, and then incorporate them into the build of a home. But I would feel like nowadays, just because of having to have plans and everything being approved architecturally and safety and all that kind of stuff and codes, you would have to have your plan in place in advance, not just kind of wing it as you go. But it was different times back then. I don't know. My brain's kind of wandering off, but I'm always curious when I see this kind of stuff. Or did they start with one part of the house and just keep, adding and adding and adding and adding? And as they added, they're like, oh, we're going to make this room a library, and this is what we want the library to look like. And this is going to be the tapestry room. Let's build it out like this. I don't know. I'm rambling, but this is the kind of things that are going through my head when I'm watching this.
Chandelier that has 72 light bulbs alone. And if you take a stroll of the 107-step staircase, you'll find yourself on the second floor. The living hall of the second floor extends from the grand staircase, leading to a portrait gallery and a formal hall. In the south tower, you'll find the master bedrooms. George Vanderbilt's room is gilded, with all the flair you'd expect from a bedroom in the home of this magnitude. There's an opulent fireplace, high ceilings, and lavish furniture all custom designed. His room connects to his wife's through a Jacobean sitting room that is encased in carved oak. His wife's room is a Louis XV style room.
It's funny they used to have separate rooms back then too, huh?
Room that is encased in carved oak. His wife's room is a Louis XV style room, oval shaped, with stunning crown molding and a painstakingly painted ceiling. The fireplace is a work of art in itself. There are several other bedrooms on the second floor, all of which have fireplaces, gilded accents, fine art, and silk draperies. The third and fourth floor were home to the housemaids, laundresses, and other female servants of the home. It is also home to the observatory, which gave Vanderbilt a place to look over his property with pride. On the polar opposite side of the home is the basement. Far from your run-of-the-mill dirt floor basement, the Biltmore's basement was once a place where work got done and fun was had. The service hub is located here, which includes a main kitchen, pastry kitchen, rotisserie kitchen, walk-in fridge, servants' dining hall, and laundry rooms. On the more fun end of things, there's a 70,000-gallon heated swimming pool,
Wow.
a bowling alley, and a gym that was once brimming with state-of-the-art fitness equipment.
Look at that gym, man. That's like a time capsule for sure. I'm glad that they kept it looking traditional there. Look, like little shower areas are right there in the same room as the actual gym. That's cool.
Since we all know rich people like to have fun, myself included, there is yet another wing dedicated to fun. The bachelor's wing houses a billiards room with ornamental plaster ceilings and oak paneling. Here, men and women would gather and enjoy each other's company. Secret doors on either side of the fireplace led to private quarters where female guests and staff members weren't allowed. In the private quarters, there's a smoking room and a gun room, which...
So we're slowly chipping away at those 250 rooms with all these various different random rooms that, you know, us regular folk don't think about having in a house. But I still, you know, what are some of these other rooms? 250 and only 35 are bedrooms.
displays animals that were killed during annual hunts. And the home itself isn't the only remarkable thing. There's an attached stable and carriage house that totals 12,000 square feet. Outside the stables, the home is surrounded by park-like grounds. The estate was actually home to the first ever forestry education programs, which took students around the timber forests on the grounds. There are 75 acres of formal gardens, including a Roman formal garden, a bush and tulip garden, and a standard formal garden. In between these extensive areas of greenery, there are fountains and bowling greens, as well as an outdoor tea room and a conservatory. Beyond the gardens, there's a bass pond, a mill pond, and a lagoon, which was once used for fishing and rowing. So, there you have it, the largest mansions in the United States. Which one would you want to live in? Let me know in the comments down below. Thanks for watching. If you enjoyed the video, make sure to leave a like, subscribe, and turn on post notifications.
Some interesting houses, some interesting ways to spend their millions. Some of the obvious things here is that the times that these houses were built was a very different time than we live in now. So I think if somebody was going to spend the same amount of money on a house like that, we'd have a very different style and look. It would probably be a lot more modernized, a lot more technologically advanced. So you could probably spend that same level of money at a more rapid pace just into all the technology. So to get the same amount of square footage might prove to be more challenging. I don't really know where I'm going with this, but I'm just trying to think, like, what are some modern homes of today on a grand scale? Does anybody know of some of the modern homes of today that are on a really grand scale, but more like built in the last 5, 10, 15, 20 years, that are completely style-wise completely different from what these look like? Because these, you can tell they're all from 100, 200 years ago. So, all right, well, let's wrap it up here. If you enjoyed this video, give it a thumbs up. If you're new here, subscribe, click that bell so you get notified every time I upload a new video. And I will see you guys in the next one. Later.